It's now 5:50 in the morning. Fast troop-carrying ships are starting to pass us now, and there's a French chasseur carrying French commandos. The coast has suddenly loomed up in front of us with its white hills and its cliffs, and it looks like a race to see who'll get into action first. The sky is streaked with fighting fools, and so is the ocean. The destroyers are laying a smoke screen to windward, and now they're turning broadside and they're plastering the town with their guns. The smoke screen is lifting, and I can see ships everywhere. The small troop-carrying landing craft are moving in lines under the artillery barrage. A Spitfire has just crashed off our starboard bow and into the sea like a stone. We could see the pilot trying to get out, but he couldn't. The troops are heading for the beaches on either side of the town, the Royal Regiment to the left, and the South Saskatchewan and Queen's Own Camerons to the right. The Hamiltons and the Essex Scottish are going in the center, and we're following. 2 Messerschmitts have just tried to attack us, and the ship behind us has just shot one of them into the sea. Our tank troop captain has come up to the bridge to warn the captain that it's only a few minutes until our 0 time. He wants to get going. So we're hoisting our signal now, meaning we're shore-bound. And in we go. It's now 6:45. Planes are everywhere overhead, but the shore guns are firing at us and at the small troop-carrying craft ahead of us. I can see casualties. Men are in the water. Our tanks are warming up, and they're starting to climb the ramp, which will be lowered like a drawbridge when we reach the beach. Machine gun bullets are whining around us, but our guns are cracking too at the aircraft over us. A tank landing craft is getting its tanks off behind the troops storming the beach, and heavy bombs have just dropped astern of us. It's a heavy Junkers, and she's trying to stagger into shore. She's full of lead from our guns. The tank landing craft ahead of us got its tanks ashore, but she's sinking now, trying to get out. And we're being stopped by orders from going in. And destroyers are laying a smoke screen around us. It's now 9:25. The Germans on the cliffs are even throwing hand grenades on our ships below. 9 Heinkel bombers just passed overhead, and I saw their bombs leave the aircraft, but I was too interested to watch the gunfire than to care where the bombs landed. They were aimed at the destroyers ahead of us, but they missed them. We were heavily attacked again, and the convoy guns have just brought down 2 more Junkers. There's just a sort of flash of flame, and the bombers come down like leaves in the wind. And now dive bombers are attacking us. One of them has just been shot into the sea. Strong reinforcements of our fighters are arriving, and they're flying low around us to protect us from the dive bombers. We can't get into the beach. We've tried again, but bombs and gunfire are driving us out.
This is Rooney Pelletier speaking to you from London. It's been a wonderful day. I don't think there's a Canadian in Britain whose heart didn't pound a bit faster today. Each and every one of us was infected by a kind of electric enthusiasm. We went about with our heads high and our shoulders squared. Although we don't know very much as yet, we have nevertheless every reason to believe that this is a noble occasion, a day of high honor. And no wonder we were proud. As I walked along the streets of London this afternoon, these were the headlines I saw in the evening papers. British tanks land at Dieppe, heavy fighting. Canadians, USA Rangers, and fighting French in first combined daylight operation. Or another headline, tanks landed, beach battle. British, Canadians, US, and fighting French in Dieppe Commando Raid. Or again another title, tanks landed in Dieppe Commando Raid. US, Canadian, and fighting French take part with British. And if I stop to talk to anyone, all conversation starts like this. Grand show, you Canadians. Or else, well, you're really in it now, thank God. Or again, the Canadians are at it. Now we'll get somewhere. Well, all this rejoicing is all very well, but I'm inclined to think it's just a bit premature. Whatever the ultimate outcome, whatever the size of the operation, it's a sure bet that our Canadians will prove themselves both brave and efficient. But we must take to heart the warning given the French people by Britain's radio service. The warning that today's effort was not an invasion. Also, it must be remembered that Combined Operations Headquarters have not as yet issued a full-dress communique. Therefore, none of us can know how completely successful the raid was, or how heavy the casualties were, and other details as well. In other words, it seems wise to exercise a bit of caution before shouting full-throated hosannas. Tonight's editorial in the London Star puts this point very well. The writer says, the raid can be regarded only as an extension of a series of commando exploits, designed partly to prepare the way for a larger operation and also to keep the enemy confused over our wider intentions. In due course, the greater operation will occur. Its time and place is a military secret, no longer demanding the aid of what one New York newspaper neatly sums up as popular clamor parades and pressure politics. Despite the clear statement issued in our first communique at 6 o'clock this morning and broadcast to the French at 6:15 a.m. about the raid on the Dieppe area, German propaganda, unable to make capital out of the turn the operation has taken, is now claiming that the raid was an invasion attempt which they frustrated. Well, that is all the news for tonight, and so I say, good night, Canada.
CBS World News brings you The World Today, presented Monday through Saturday at this same time. During the next 15 minutes, you will hear news and analysis by Quincy Howe and CBS correspondents at home and abroad. And here are the major highlights in the news of the day. The big commando raid on Dieppe today lasted just 9 hours and found out what it wanted to find out. The German drive on Stalingrad continued. Brazil moved closer to war with the Axis. And now, Quincy Howe in the news.
There's just one thing all of us want to hear about first today. That's the big 9-hour super commando raid from the port of Dieppe on the French coast, 64 miles from England. We are therefore postponing our usual news roundup until later in the program and take you at once to CBS London and the report of Edward R. Murrow.
This is London. It was dawn this morning when the United Nations jabbed 3 prongs into the coast of France. One to the right of Dieppe, one to the left, and one in the center. On the left flank, one landing party was thrown back but reformed and carried the beach by storm. The going on the right was better. A 6-gun battery was destroyed, an ammunition dump blown up, an ack-ack battery on a radio location station destroyed. Then the men on the right picked up such wounded as they could find and went back to the boats. The tanks went ashore in the middle, and the opposition was heavy. Down on the east coast, windows were rattling as the sound of gunfire and bomb bursts rolled across the channel. Fighters and bombers were going out, some of them lumbering high out of sight, others right down on the deck. 2 squadrons of flying fortresses lanced across and unloaded their bombs on enemy fighter bases near Abbeville, about 35 miles northeast of Dieppe. And they all came back. Up there in the air, there were men from all the United Nations. Down on the ground, the Canadians were doing most of the fighting. But there were British there, too. A detachment from the United States Ranger Battalion. Volunteers, all of them, were there. There were some fighting French, too. The British kept pumping broadcasts out of London telling the French, this isn't an invasion. Don't compromise your security. Sit tight. When the day comes to ask the active help of the French people, we will let you know. Do not expose yourself to German reprisals. In the meantime, there was stiff fighting in and on both sides of the old Norman town of Dieppe, lying in a valley between 2 ranges of high white cliffs. Not since the Battle of Britain has there been such air fighting around the channel that's named for England. Casualties were heavy. The operation is now over, 9 hours after it started. It ended within 6 minutes of the scheduled time, and in combined operations, time is what counts. The re-embarkation has been completed. The men are back in England, on their way, captured, or dead. The impression here is that the operation was successful. 82 enemy aircraft shot down, another 100 damaged and probably destroyed. 95 of our aircraft are missing, but 21 pilots are safe, and more may be picked out of the channel. The Germans are claiming that it was an invasion attempt that was thrown back, but it wasn't. It was just a raid. No bigger than actions being fought every day on the Russian front. And now to CBS Washington, Eric Severeid reporting.
Military experts say men learn and learn quickly in desperate combat like the 9 hours at Dieppe yesterday. And these men, they say, who've gone through something like that, acquire a feel for combat that's difficult to impart in any other way. Well, the Army is going to make use of those Dieppe-trained men. Under-Secretary of War Patterson says that part of the American Rangers who took part will return to the United States. Here they'll teach other men what they learned for bigger missions of the future. Those words, bigger missions of the future, are Mr. Patterson's. Others of the Dieppe-trained Rangers will be used to teach American forces already in Britain. I return you to CBS New York and Quincy Howe.
The Soviet midnight communique just in says that the Russians are still holding on those two crucial fronts, southwest and northwest of Stalingrad. And an Ankara dispatch has come in prophesying a German second front in the Middle East as the logical consequence of the present campaign in the Caucasus. Continued German progress going on in this region makes this prophecy very immediate indeed. The larger implication of the current news is the situation in South Russia, which looks desperate. This raid at Dieppe was taken as an indication of the dangerous situation there. And here are the main dangers in Russia. First, that the Russian offensive power may be broken. Second, that Russia's southern armies may be cut off. Third, that supplies may be blocked from the south. And fourth, that the road to the Middle East may be open to the Germans. Egypt is merely a sideshow as compared to the Syrian and Palestine possibilities in Iran and Iraq. Those are the dangers that threaten all the United Nations. They are threatening our whole global war strategy. Forget about the bogeymen that we were frightened of last year. The bogeyman of the Red Army being destroyed, of Russia being knocked out of the war, of a separate peace. Those aren't the dangers in 1942. The danger in 1942 is that this year, the Axis may get enough resources to fight a long defensive war. That's probably one of the reasons why Mr. Wilkie is going out there. If the Middle East falls, time is on the Axis side and Germany fights a defensive war. Therefore, we now might be said to be witnessing a race between second fronts. Can the Germans establish a second front in the Middle East before the United Nations established one in Western Europe? And that's the world today.